This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Could our country be facing a retirement savings crisis? This is Financial Insanity. I'm Alex Dingman, alongside, as always, Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And we're going to be talking about this new study that seems to paint a fairly bleak picture of retirement savings in America, but it's never all doom and gloom on Financial Insanity. We're going to be sharing some of the ways you can take better control of your financial future. And Scott, I must say, happy holidays, my friend. Always an exciting time of year.
Buddy.
Absolutely.
Everybody out there as well, we welcome you, and whether Hanukkah or Christmas or whatever you celebrate, we hope you're enjoying yourself. And if you're by yourself, grab a cup of eggnog and maybe spike it a little bit and enjoy this ride today.
Go.
We have fun together.
There you go. Good advice there, Scott. It'll help you enjoy the show even more, as we're going to be talking about this ARP study showing that we could be headed as a country into a retirement savings challenge. And no surprise to you, Scott, when you see some of these numbers that are brought up in this article, it's things that you know to be true.
The article is pretty amazing, where it talked about, 20% of adults at least 50 years had no retirement savings. And I think that's really important because obviously you're raising kids. I get it. And now you have to have you got to really slam on the accelerator and start saving a lot of money. I also noticed, I don't know if you read this report, not only 20% of 50 years old have no plan, 57 million of the private sector don't really have a traditional pension, so we don't know what they're going to get. And so people are leaning on Social Security, which is a challenge. But I also noticed another stat that really was amazing to me. 25% of Americans have zero. 25%. So when you're going out with people, 1 of 4 have zero savings. And 50% are fearing, will they run out of money during retirement? So again, I look at those stats on top of the average Social Security is $1,800 a month. Can you live on that? Well, I guess if you move in with your mom and dad. So these are some key areas, and people are living a lot longer.
Yep.
As you know out there. So if you haven't started, you can get started. If you need help, maybe you have a plan at work and you haven't started the plan, hey, give our studios a call. I say that out of kindness because you might want to use the current company's plan, especially if they're putting money in for you. I call it free money. And the question is, will that be a benefit to you? Well, yes, it will. The question is, if you haven't been saving much, well, maybe you need to start. If you've been saving much, but maybe you need to save more, you need to start. Maybe you're thinking about getting going and maybe begging your kids to start doing it. Who's going to take care of you? What's going to happen? Where do you get the money from? Again, these are areas of solution. We're living a lot longer. The lack of savings discipline is gone. The market volatility is, we have a new regime coming in. So these are areas we like to talk to you about if you're in there. And I can tell you guys out there, don't put this off if you have. And maybe you need to crank up some more. And those that are heading in retirement, that's a whole different story. I'd love to talk to you more about that later. But again, let's get some savings going.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. As we're talking about this AARP study, showing what we know to be true is that we're facing a retirement savings crisis. It's just more difficult than before, and then also showing the folks that do not have retirement savings at all at this point. Now, Scott, how do you talk, because like you said, plan is just so important when it comes to your retirement, but how do you talk to people about those things that are hard to plan for, the unknowns, higher taxes, the economy possibly going down in the middle of a person's retirement? How do we, plan or at least instill some things to protect us from these, things that we know will happen, we just don't know when?
Yeah, the inevitable pops out, like the
Right.
drones in New Jersey flying all over our head. If you've been around, you guys see it.
Yeah,
I'm out here in Fort Dix area where all the military base, and you got them all over the place. It's been amazing here in New Jersey. But one thing I noticed, Alex, is an unknown force is retirement. Well, you know when you're going to retire, or you think you know when you're going to retire. Frankly, I'm lying to you out there because I don't know when I'm going to retire. I love what I do. I don't see myself retiring. But if those of you heading into retirement and you're ready to go into the go-go years, you're ready to go have some fun, you need to plan that budget. We've said so many different shows. We talk about the budget. How's it going to work out? We have a 2-family income. Now we're going into a no income, but we're going to have income from your dividends and interest from the investments you have, from maybe your pension if you have a pension, or maybe your 401k. You have a lot of money saved, a 403b. How do you put all those areas together in a nice game plan? So if the market and the economy does have a big turn down, if there is a big challenge ahead that we don't see, it's called the black swan event, something we don't even pay attention to. How are you set up for that? And there's some tools in the world that could be like a CD link, CD, certificate of deposit, linked to the stock market with no risk unless you ruin the risk, because it's a contractual period between 3, 5, or 7 years normally. If you hold it to the end, you can't lose your money. It's guaranteed by the FDIC. What kind of gains could you have? You could have some really good gains. Or if the market continually drops, maybe you have very, very small gains. But again, there are tools out there, whether they're government protected, FDIC protected, insurance protected. And how can you grow your money? Well, that's where a plan starts. Everyone is not a cookie cutter. Alex, I've seen so many different people, and I do know the commonality. They want to make sure they're not going to run out of money. I do know the commonality. Do they have enough? So enough for you listening to me right now in your car as you're driving. It may be enough for you, but maybe the guy or gal sitting next to you, or maybe your friends, maybe they need more than what you're bringing in. Everybody's so different because of their lifestyle. And this is where you should practice that, Alex. This is so important.
Absolutely. Talking about this new study from AARP showing that we're headed for a retirement savings challenge in the U.S. Scott McLean talking with us about it, founder of McLean Advisory Group right here in Waretown. That number, as always, if you have questions, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And Scott, retirement, it just looks different now. People used to have that pension. That's just Social Security, income along with it. You got to throw in those personal savings now, and that seems to be that third leg of the stool that is really the onus is on us more, it seems like, moving forward. Talk a little bit just about how retirement does look different today.
Cash is king. Credit is queen. Interest rates were 0 just a few years ago, 2 or 3%. Can't make much money. But if you're out there, what other tools were in the tool shed? We saw interest rates scream to the top. We saw people buying these 9% interest-sensitive treasuries. We see a lot of different tools in the tool shed, but that doesn't set up what's, I call it the dreams. What are your dreams? Which leads to the dollars you're investing, or maybe you need to invest more. Maybe you're investing too much. Maybe you need to invest in tax-frees, or maybe like Roth type of accounts if you're eligible. Maybe you should do Roth conversions if you're now fixing to retire in the next 1-2 years. Maybe those of you retiring in the next 6 months. This is a great time to practice. What do you need on a monthly basis? Live on that. Don't live on the high on the hog. Because I can tell you, a couple came in, and when I met this couple, I can tell you, Mario is just a beautiful gentleman, and his wife, Luis. And in speaking to them, what I found is they knew what they wanted to retire on a monthly basis. But when I asked them, let's take all of the cash, all the Social Security, your pension income, your 401k, how much do you have coming in? And they thought they were going to be just fine until I let them run the numbers. For Alex, is kind of unique and fun because I want people to run the numbers themselves. Can they live on, in this case, $7,000 a month and not have to work? Well, we look at the Social Security. We look at that 401k and all the money they've saved, which would be like a third leg. And then, of course, the pensions. We look at all the areas. And after I told them to run the numbers themselves, they said, wow, I guess we need to save some more money. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have them listen and figure it out themselves. And again, I give them the math to walk really slow through it so they really understand this could be a problem because everybody wants to retire early. Heck, everybody wants ice cream and cake and candies and without all the cavities and cholesterol. But the question is, in retirement, this is not a do-over because you may have to go back to work, and that's not what the goal was.
No, absolutely not. And so we're talking about, avoiding this retirement savings challenge. What are some options for folks as far as creating income in retirement? Since this is going to be something, to think about. How do I recreate that paycheck, if you will?
Well, we spoke on a couple different shows, Alex, we did together. And the most exciting thing is there are some tools in the toolbox that are made and designed by way of contract to pay a dividend, whether they're a bond that pays twice a year, a corporate bond. Maybe they're a preferred stocks that pay 4 times a year, and we look at how strong the companies are before we buy them. Then we're looking at another vehicle called a real estate investment trust, some different types of REITs out there. And then we look at the master limited partnerships, the MLP. And those have been amazing tools, as well as the last one, Business Development Corporation. Businesses borrow money on a short-term basis. They pay a nice interest rate, and they pay beautiful dividends. This is one area. Then you got to go into the world when most people don't want to talk about, I don't want to talk about annuities. Well, wait a minute, time out. There's some really great tools out there in the annuity world called the fixed or the indexed that could give you a guaranteed income for life if you set it up properly. And the insurance company, Alex, the insurance company takes the risk,
right,
not you. So when you put your head on your pillow, the stock market's dropping, you wake up the next morning knowing that check's going to be in the mailbox every month on the first of the month. So you've had that planned almost like your Social Security. And again, Social Security is changing, guys. Unless they make a different change in the new administration coming down in 2025, we've got to fix this Social Security because that's going to be reduced in 2032-33. So that's a game plan that I guarantee Congress will have to be looking at for sure.
That is the voice of Scott McLean at McLean Advisory Group. We really appreciate you listening each week to Financial Insanity. And I want to remind you that the number for Scott and his team, if you do have questions, is 609-488-4646. That is 609-488-4646. Just add a .com for the website. We're Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group, serving Waretown and beyond. And we have plenty more coming your way. Don't go anywhere. This is Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity.
Hey, this is Scott McLean. I want to wish you guys a tremendous, wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and all the lovely greetings we have for you. Proud to be in your life as we try to give you the financial information so you don't go insane. Happy holidays.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
I'm on the fence about a real tree. I've done the real tree. When you have that fake one that's in 3 different pieces, you just bust it out every year and you take a second and it's already got the lights attached to plug it in and boom.
You like the smell. I do like the smell of those Christmas trees.
Yeah, but you can get that smell, in different ways. But anyways.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
When planning for retirement, are you confident you're not making any mistakes? Would you like to know more now so you don't have a painful lesson in the future? Of course, right? Well, good thing you're joining us today on Financial Insanity, because throughout the years, Scott McLean and his great team at McLean Advisory Group has identified 5 common mistakes people often make before they enter retirement. And so you're going to want to listen today. And the first one, Scott, first common mistake is, well, pretty simple. You don't have a fully mapped out retirement strategy.
Nothing. So many times, and we have a unique process. If anybody would like to get it from us, please feel free to ask for Bonnie at 609-488-4646. I have a unique email I can send you as you try to map out your strategies. And I actually have it really laid out as you put your budget together. This is not a do-it-over plan. This is not let's test it out plan. I mean, if you made a couple critical mistakes, it could really affect the quality of retirement. So again, as you map out the retirement, what does it look like, feel like, how much we saving, how much we spending? And this is number one, problem number one. If you're forced into retirement, that's okay. I understand. As we talked about in an earlier segment, we spoke about, Alex, about long-term care.
Yeah.
If you're forced into it because you're taking care of your grandson, or maybe your wife has to, or your husband has to take off work to take care of their beautiful spouse. Sometimes we're forced in these situations. Okay, what does that look like? Seek help, and let's do a map out a plan, because this is not a do-it-yourself gimmick. You go to the place that people have gone through this challenge before and seek help, because it's not only where does the money come from, it's how much tax am I going to have to pay? It's will I run out of money before I run out of life?
Yep. You got to look at everything, and that's what we mean by a fully mapped out retirement strategy. And it's hard to look at everything if you don't know everywhere to look, and that's where somebody like Scott McLean can really help out at McLean Advisory Group. All right, second common mistake people make before retiring is, well, you're living beyond your means, contributing little or nothing to the savings you'll need after your paychecks stop. You don't want to do that.
No, and if you're out there and you're about to retire or plan on retiring, maybe your favorite sport is, let's say, bowling. Maybe you get a job at a bowling alley and have a little extra income coming in. After you do, plan one, figure out what your budget is. Number two, are you spending too much? When the grandbabies start to pop out of the oven and you start visiting them, maybe go to the thrift store versus the Lehman Marcus store. Maybe
Right.
you get a little bit more frugal, because again, burning your cash could be tremendously burden to your retirement. And then of course it could affect you if you have a good long life. Maybe you don't want to have cat food when you're 80 years old. So be very, very cautious and be diligent on how much you're spending, because you can spend beyond your means. Plus you got kids knocking on the door. Dad, Mom, can I get some money? I can't pay my mortgage. Mom, Dad, I'm going through a divorce. Can you help me? I need some money. Mom, Dad, I'd surely like my son to have special football shoes. Can you help me? And I'm not saying any of those are bad, but the question is, when the door starts knocking, thinking about how your retirement could start knocking.
Yep, and it's that dirty B word. And no, not that one, but the other dirty B word, budget. And, it's that old adage, you got to pay yourself first. And this is that situation where you got to make sure that you're putting that money in for when those paychecks that you currently have stop. And like you said, you can have some part-time work, but you're not going to want to work just as much for retirement because that's not retirement. So how do you replace those paychecks? And that's the kind of thing Scott McLean, his team at McLean Advisory Group can help with. That number is always 609-488-4646. Going over some common mistakes people make before entering retirement, trying to help you get ahead of these things. The first one we talked about, not having a fully mapped out retirement strategy. And the second one is living beyond your means, not contributing enough to the savings you're going to need after those paychecks stop. So the third common mistake, Scott, is that, well, you're under the impression that you're going to be healthy forever. And therefore, you're ignoring the cost of health care in retirement. And you can hear from Scott that that's just not going to be the case. You're not going to be healthy forever. And there's, like we mentioned, long-term care before, just health care in general. These are things, again, you got to budget for.
You do. And if there's a lot of tools out there, but I can tell you, if you have an HSA, please jump on that. As long as it's not the use it or lose it plan, you need to find out about that. Great place to really pack away money, especially for those who are heading into retirement. If you can really start plowing money away into an HSA. If not, start plowing your money, maybe if you can, into an IRA. If your spouse is not working, maybe plow your money into an IRA Roth as a spousal Roth plan if one of you are still working. So again, think about the money as you're having it in there, and if in case you need it, where do you pull it from, and how the tax implication will happen. Because the third mistake is, again, we're all going to stay healthy. And God, we know, I take tons of vitamins. I want to stay healthy. But as Alex knows, we all get hurt, get injured, things happen. And when they happen, you feel like a $6 million man, then you're being a 2-cent man because you kind of sit in your bed saying, I can't get out. I can't do this. I can't do what I used to do. Please pay attention. Look at the dollars.
Yep.
And again, watch out how much you spend. The part number 2 we just spoke about. Again, you're very important to pay attention to that, your health. And get it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Work out. Go to the gym. That's probably the best thing for most everybody listening right now. Get your butt to the gym, work out, do the treadmill, do something, at least 45 minutes a day, do some kind of cardio work.
Yeah, you could walk to go visit Scott McLean and his team at McLean Advisory Group if you would like, right here in Waretown. He'll help you with
Drop
those.
by Dunkin' Donuts on the way.
Yeah, there you go. Why not? I'm sure Scott would take something for you.
Absolutely.
Not necessary, but he'll take it. Again, that number, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And we're going through these common mistakes people make before entering retirement. And really one of the big points is just, Scott, you've seen this stuff. I mean, you haven't seen it all. There's something new every day, but you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot of different situations and different things that have worked for different kinds of people and in different situations at different times and things that people have forgotten. And so these mistakes, you go through them in your head, you're thinking, yep, I can think of a couple of times that somebody maybe was doing this. And so this is where having someone like you can step in and just take a realistic look at things. It's like, yeah, you think you're going to live forever, or you want to keep spending as much money as you want right now without thinking about the future. And Scott's somebody that can sit down and say, hey, let's just go ahead and go over this. Let's really be realistic about this, because at the end of the day, you're going to feel better about things if you know that things have been addressed and that you have a plan.
There's no doubt. You don't want to, again, like I say, you want to help the kids out, the family out, give money away. And the question is, you're not paying attention to, maybe you're going to live a good long life, and will you have enough money versus not having enough money and too much life left over.
Yeah,
you got inflation, Alex. You got inflation coming up too. That's another person we can talk about.
That is absolutely true, and that's why it's almost kind of silly when I say you got to have a plan, because you do have to have a plan, but part of that plan has to be those things you can't plan for. You got to have those funds and those strategies for when stuff is going to hit the fan, or when something unheard of is going to happen.
I mean, these old folks listen to me right now. You're same age as me, probably out there for sure. Probably I'm a little older. But you think about rapid inflation we saw in the 82 to 90, where we saw interest rates just scream. It just went up. Now, we just saw it just screams past year and a half faster on a short-term period than we did in 82 to 90. And so we saw that scream so rapidly. So, and I just spoke to someone today, that's why their bond account dropped so rapidly. They thought, Scott, I thought bonds were safe. I said, did the advisor keep you in the bond account? They said, yes. I said, that's a shame because it's when you see rapid inflation, you don't want to be in these sort of tools that could really evaporate your money and bonds will go down even though you thought they were safe. Again, how do you fight for inflation? Are you putting enough away? And I think this is a big misnomer. Hey, by the way, mom and dad, are you out there? Hey, grandpa, grandma. You know, I think about this because I'm a grandpa as well. You think about this. If you could teach your kids one simple rule. Alex, this is for you too and all you young studettes down there or studs out there. 10% of your income. So if you're making $300 a week, $30. You're making $3,000 a week, $300. 10% of your income should be put away for your retirement. And so if you're doing that, but if your wife is working or spouse is working, again, 10% of their income, this is a very easy formula. I can tell you most people don't do it, or they do it and they end up putting their hand in the cookie jar and yanking it out later. If you could just drill this into the kids, 10% every time you get paid, I can tell you, you will be so far ahead. If you do what other people won't do, you'll have what other people won't have. I promise you, do it. 10%. Use that number.
And that number for Scott and his team, McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646, ada.com for the website. As we're going through 5 common mistakes people often make before they enter retirement, we have 2 more on the other side. This is Alex Dingman of Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, wishing you a happy holidays. I hope you have good health and get everything on your wish list. Thanks for listening.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
By the way, I'm an old dog. I'm almost 65, but I will accept presents.
Scott, are you just going to plug your birthday every show until the first of the year? Is that what's going to happen?
I'm going to plug it till I get a present.
We are using Scott and his team's decades of experience to identify 5 common mistakes people often make before they hit retirement. Last segment, we went over not having a fully mapped out retirement strategy, living beyond your means, and ignoring healthcare costs in retirement. We'll go back through those real quickly again, but we want to get to the next 2. And the 4th common mistake, Scott, is you aren't saving enough to account for inflation. You mentioned this briefly, but that's a big one.
So we spoke about the very basic rules for the younger people, and of course older people as well. Use the rule of the 10% rule. But if we know inflation's up to 6%, well, can you add, is it possible? And I don't want to be dictating on the radio saying it's possible, because when inflation takes off, it's hard to save money. But if you can actually put a little extra percentage away just to keep up with inflation, if the boss gives you a raise, can you say, great, let's go ahead and put that full raise into my savings account, my 401k, my 403b, my Roth IRA? Can I put that away? Or maybe some of you just into a liquid cash account. Where do we put that money? I was just looking at some accounts today, and I've just noticed today, speaking to you guys, there's some accounts out there paying 6.15% guaranteed for 5 years. I've never seen it this high. I'm not trying to sell you on you guys listening to me. I'm telling you, I was excited to see that because I know people want safe money, no fees, no expense, $6,150 on every $100,000. In other words, that's almost like what? $500 you could put in your pocket just for every single period you want. Just want to take some money out. $6,000 you could grow on that guaranteed bucket. So again, there's some safe places to put money out there. How do you take it out? Is it taxable or non-taxable? But again, you've got to put it away for inflation. And then you've got to really buckle down and just be a real savvy shopper and look at how you can buy, or can you put off things, or can you reduce your expenses if you're really, really, really hurting for cash, because this is so important. But it will end. Inflation will go, schools change. It's just how are you getting through it now?
Yeah. Well, and you said something really smart too, and this goes for anybody, but something happens where, okay, a windfall, or you're going to consistently be getting more money now, and you just put that money away, and you keep living as you were living before under the same budget. And that extra money, that's the stuff that, okay, you are already saving for retirement and you had a savings. Well, in that savings now it's accounting for inflation also because of the extra money you're able to put in. And so I just think that's really wise as well, giving people the green light to say, hey, you get that raise or you get that other stream of income coming in, and you just keep your budget the same and you put that extra money aside because you are going to need it in the future. It is going to happen.
Sneaks up on all of us for sure. Everyone. I don't care if, by the way, if you're thinking, well, that's easy to say if you're rich and wealthy. Let me tell you something. They scrimp and save money just like you. They're budgeting money. They're watching their dollars. When COVID hit, they didn't go out and buy fancy rings and Rolexes and stuff. They were watching their money. When the market took a drop, 2 different drops in 2000 to 2003, 50% drop, 2007 to 2009, almost a 60% drop. You tell me the wealthy wasn't concerned? Well, everyone was concerned. And if we have another stock market tremendous challenge, this is why people are calling us and meeting with us, because there could be something down the line, let alone with inflation, but let alone being sick and disabled, let alone the 5 common mistakes people have, spending too much money. But the question is, are you really paying attention to what's going on? If not, get an advisor who's really in the know.
And the number for Scott and his team at McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. As Scott and his team have identified 5 common mistakes people often make before they enter retirement. The final common retirement planning mistake: you haven't planned for the possibility of long-term care. We're going back to something we mentioned earlier, but we want to put a bow on the thought because it is important. It can't be overlooked. And it's something we mentioned earlier, that those that are turning 65 right now, over half of them are going to need long-term care in the future.
You know, I haven't said this in the last show, and I apologize to our veterans and to our spouses of veterans during wartime. It doesn't mean your spouse was in, let's say, Vietnam, Afghanistan. They could be here stateside, but they qualify for benefits. And there's some very unique benefits if you're listening to me now, whether you're World War II, still around, Korea, Vietnam, and you think Gulf, and all these different wars that came out, the veterans have a very unique plan. If you have a question, you're a veteran out there, I can guide you in the areas of, could there be some benefits for you or your spouse if you serve during these times? They call the aid and attendance pension benefit. And I can tell you, people overlook that, especially financial planners don't really ask those questions, which we do, because we want to help our vets and we want you to get the most out of it. The second thing we think about on top of that long-term care is, again, maybe you're guiding your mom and dad, and maybe you're taking care of them. Maybe they moved into your house. How are you entering them on the tax returns? This is kind of off the color. We talk about benefits, but this could be a benefit. How are you taking care of them? Is there any deductions? How are you keeping records of taking care of your mom and dad? Maybe it's your husband, your wife, your children, your grandchildren. So you want to look at all the different areas, again, of where to get the money. How do I pull the money out if I need the money? Am I saving enough money in case something does happen? And then again, how does it look in the big picture? How do I protect my money? And so that would go into the legal aspects of trust planning. So as we look at the 3D process, our 3D planning process, the dreams, keeping your money together, the dollars, how they're going to last, and then the dynasty, how does it pass it on? How can we look at all three areas with these 3D glasses? So when we talk about it, this will help you when you put your head on the pillow, think, you know what? I think I'm buttoned up pretty good. Let's just double check. Let's meet with Scott.
Yep.
609-488-4646. Please, this is the time not to play as we head into a new year. This is a great time to plan. And again, 609-488-4646. No cost, no obligation. If you've got questions, I can tell you I'll get the answer. And if I don't have the answer, I will find the answer. I'm pretty good at this, but if I don't have an answer off the cuff, I will get the answer. I've known tons of people, and I can tell you that it's nothing worse than having a question unanswered.
Absolutely. And today we went over 5 common mistakes people often make before retirement. To recap, the first mistake, not having a fully mapped out retirement strategy. If you don't feel like you've addressed everything, now's the time to get with Scott. Or if you're just not even sure, then check in with the team at McLean Advisory Group. What about living beyond your means so you're not saving enough for when you get into retirement? This is a big one. If you need help budgeting, again, Scott and his team can help out. You also don't want to ignore healthcare costs in retirement. This is big, as we all think that we're bulletproof, or maybe we just don't quite understand what it's going to look like and how we're going to pay for healthcare in retirement. It's all part of that all-encompassing, comprehensive strategy. You got to look at that. Another mistake, not saving enough to account for inflation. We've definitely seen that one rear its ugly head, and it'll happen again in the future. Got to make sure you're setting some funds aside for that. And then the fifth common mistake, not planning for the possibility of long-term care. So we talked about healthcare costs, but you have that, and that's different than, well, you might have an extended stay or extended care treatment that is needed for you or a loved one, and you definitely got to look at that. But this is all something that has to do with stuff that you can look at to make sure that you're really looking at everything, that 3D approach that you talk about. That's why it's so important to come in and get guidance from somebody like Scott. That number again, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646, ad8.com for the website. Well, good stuff, Scott. Real quick, how does a salad say grace?
Wow, how?
Let us pray. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. Thanks for joining us.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Frankly, you could have your grandkids tweet out to your friends or go on the Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is and say, I got great information from Scott.
And you left out TikTok there as you're rambling off the different social media being used by the kids today. You got to remember that TikTok. Come on.
That's right. Tickety-tock.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
We talk a lot about the risks to your money in retirement. Wall Street Journal saying baby boomers' biggest financial risk, cognitive decline. Scary risk can rob you of your best judgment. Sometimes it can go even unnoticed for years. With that in mind, we're going to go ahead and bring you a top 5 list for this week. Top 5 scams that you should be aware of, Scott.
Well, I don't know about you, and I just had someone in the office, and this lovely lady, 73 years old, was in the office and has a new friend, beautiful, beautiful gentleman, as he sat out in the lobby and we got through talking about it. And I called the romance scam. And obviously, it's real. And when you think about the romance scam, of course, they perpetrate themselves as they got money and they want to go out, and who ends up paying the bills, and they end up having that area. On top of romance scams, I would like to throw in there, when you think about that, maybe kids who think they're so concerned about their mom and dad's money that maybe they think mom and dad have a lot of money and they can borrow the money. I think that's a scam as well. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but I think these partners, romance scams, as you well indicated, these dating websites, these elderly victims, just to get your information. Be very careful of that. We all love relationship people. This is important. Now, Alex, you said there was another scam out there, the tech scam, I think you mentioned.
Yeah, and that's something, and we see it all the time. Really, you can have text messages, you can have emails, but unfortunately, there's a lot of technology nowadays, Scott, and people can be reached so easily, and you never know how somebody maybe even got your information. But there's a lot of communication, and sometimes people can make it seem very real and something very relevant, and they can give you a lot of sense of urgency, and it's important to be aware of those kind of things happening as well.
Boy, that is so true. When I think about these text scams, I remember when we do taxes and these text scams, they turn into a phone call. Did you get you owe money on the government? You need to send us money. Or one of the close friends and clients, which obviously won't say their name, where they called me up and they were beside themselves, where they actually ran to Walmart and they wired money through Western Union of $5,000 because they heard their grandson was in trouble, got in a car accident, but they won't report it if they send them money because their grandson hit somebody, and they ended up almost dying. The woman is pregnant, now lost a baby. This is real. And she called me, the husband and wife called me, and they said, Scott, what do we do? And, I said, let's call your son right now and see about how their child's doing, your grandson. No, they told us not to call anybody or they're going to go ahead and press charges.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would believe that. Now, my clients are a little bit older. There's this couple. We're very close. And I looked at them in the eyes and said, we're calling your son right now. No, Scott, I don't want you to. I said, okay, we're going to call the police. They were in my office. We're going to call the police station right now to see if there's any accidents. And we did. I said, okay, Mr. and Mrs., let's say Jojo, we're going to call now your son. You should have seen his wife's face. Alex, I believe you. These scams are real. And they did not want to call because they're afraid it's real. We got the son on the phone because I forced them to do it. Oh, no, he's with his best friend right now. There was no car accident. These are real scams, whether it's from tax returns, such as the tech scams, the grandparent scams, usually trying to, which is the third scam you had mentioned to me when we were speaking before. Of course, they're faking out relative. And then we talk about the government. We talk about the taxes, the fourth scam.
And that's a big one, Scott. That's a big one because
huge.
Because they'll pick the right times too, whether it's tax season or whether they know it's open enrollment or whatever it may be. And that's when you'll get a call, and then it makes it seem very relevant. The
tax scam, Alex, I get this call every daggum year. And we have it in our folder when we do our tax returns for our clients. We do a for our financial clients. It's a real expensive tax returns, like $110 we charge. We don't want to be a profit center. We want to help our people understand that. But one thing we found out is, okay, this is the IRS calling. You need to owe money. We don't want to put a lien on your account. And the IRS doesn't call people. It's like, wait a minute, whoa. Didn't we just tell you in the portfolio when you got your tax returns, there's a thing you may get a phone call. Don't expect a phone call. It says in there real clearly. So, and then the stimulus checks. I can't tell you how many calls we got because we do taxes for our clients, and the stimulus check.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Totally ridiculous. And you know what? I don't blame the older folks because they're sitting at home, they're watching their TV shows, they get a phone call, and fear is a tremendous motivator the older you get. And that, to me, your lights go dim, maybe your husband, your wife, your significant others taking care of you, and you're worried about them. And these scams, well, Alex, the sweepstakes scam, how about that one? Or the charity. I want to give money to the poor people, or this charity, or maybe like my friend, as I mentioned, one of your shows before we spoke about, my roommate in college is over in Poland helping Ukrainians, and he's there right now. But there's a lot of scams. I remember the scam about the Hurricane Sandy. Where did all that daggum money go? Ticks me off. And I think of all this illegitimate, quote, charitable organizations. This is a huge problem for the seniors out there. Guys, don't fall for it. And then you end up calling your financial guy, hey, I need like my close friend, and Scott, we need to pull out $10,000 because our grandson got in a car accident I mentioned earlier. I said, no, I'll let you get your money, but we need to make some calls first. As a fiduciary, Alex, my job is to protect our clients the best I can. In every way I can. And if they don't want it, they can take their money and go to another advisor, because my job is to be, I call it in Ezekiel 33, the watchman, to oversee people's monies, to help them. You know what? This is a lost art. One thing, Alex, we didn't talk about, you could have kids out there trying to scam their parents.
Well, that would never happen, Scott. What are you talking about? There has never been a kid out there who's tried to get their parents' money when they didn't actually probably need it. What are you talking about? That would never happen.
It's crazy.
That would never happen. No. Yeah. Well, and Scott,
and I see that.
And I'm sure that you do, and you see it all. And you are somebody, if somebody's sitting out there and they're thinking, well, heck, is this a scam, or what should I look out for? If you have questions, then Scott could maybe have some answers for you. If you want to give him a buzz, 609-488-4646. You can give Scott a call, 609-488-4646. Scott, since you deal with this a lot, are there some indicators that somebody might be dealing with a scammer?
Sometimes not. Sometimes they could be sounding so sincere, so realistic, you might not realize it. But then on the other side, basically they go to Google and they do a search online, and people who contact you. Or perhaps maybe you go online, you look up their phone number. If those seniors, people that are cognitively, they're going to be proactive, maybe you Google the phone number, see if it's a real phone number. And when I see people also really being proactive, is they want you to download stuff, and they want you to just click on this, and it leads you down the primrose path of being ripped off. And that internet thing, because a lot of seniors these days, more now than ever, are on the internet. They sit in there, maybe one person's watching the TV show and the other person's on the internet, and you get caught in this web of deception. And I think we've really never did this on a radio show in the past 10, 12 years, but this is a good segment, Alex. We talk about so many scammers they're trained. They know how to get your information, and then they get your voice, and they get it's almost right now, just like the thief in the night. Well, now they don't even have to go in your house. They're going to get it by the internet. So I think this is really, really a good topic of the scams. And again, the nicest guy, the nicest girl in the world, one of the flags. Maybe they're good looking, they have a nice, sweet talking self, and maybe they just want to sell you something and get you involved in something. And they get your credit card, and and now you're spending time cleaning up this nonsense. So don't use your debit card if you're going to buy things. Use a credit card. The credit card companies are really helping out. They've been a big insulator. I would never use a debit card. And by the way, it happened to my sister, where her daughter is on my sister's account, and she started buying stuff, and she started adding to the credit card, which my sister is in her name, and she allowed her daughter to use it.
What could
and all
go
of a
wrong?
sudden she sees charges. My goodness. And she got taken to the cleaners. And I won't say what I did, but I can tell you, I see this from a firsthand position to my clients, and I just disturbs me, especially in the field I was heading in. How do I protect our clients as a fiduciary, as a protector of our clients? And I think this is really important, Alex. Great subject.
Well, and Scott, you don't want to just walk around and be somebody who doesn't trust anybody or that you're super paranoid or stuff like that. But how can working with financial professional, working with you, how can that insulate people, give some people some protection against scams? Because some of them can come from people that you really didn't expect it to come from.
Well, I know one thing. We get phone calls. And I can tell you several phone calls we get from clients, and they want to take money out, and I will drill them down on questions. Well, let me ask you something. What happened? What took place? What do you need it for? Not that I'm trying to control their money, not at all, but to protect them from what's going on. Now, if they don't want to tell me, they don't have to. I'm supposed to give them their money. If they ask for money, that's fine. But if I'm hearing something fishy, whether they get the sweepstakes or whatever, I really want to know, is it the fraudulent, deceitful people out there trying to get their hands on their money? And I usually call. The second thing, of course, when I think about that, I really want to find out, if they call us, what is it about, as I just mentioned? If it even goes to the next level, which I have done, I may call the power of attorney. If we keep our clients in our firm, when someone becomes a client, I want a copy of their will, power of attorney, living will. So if they call in and they want to ask questions, I'm going to pull them up. Who is this? And I want to find out about that, or our staff would find out about that. So ask lots of questions. Maybe you go to your best friend before you do anything and ask them questions on what should you do. If not, and maybe you get this fancy software out there. I don't know which is the best software. I'm not telling people what the best software is, but there's software to protect your title, a title lock, I think they call it, or maybe a life lock, which your protection. I don't know which is the best out there. That's not my job. Seek it out, ask your kids for help. But I think you need to have these tools, because it's going to get more rampant as the market changes, as people get more aggressively, theft goes up.
And Scott, for the last time here today, how can people get a hold of you if they do have questions?
Pick up the telephone, 609-488-4646. Our staff will put you on the call log. We'll follow up, 609-488-4646. And if we can help somebody, obviously we're a financial firm. We're not the fraud detection firm. I'll make that real clear. If we can hear some phony things going on, we will probably either post it on the web, 609-488-4646.com. And you can see for some helpful tips, if we have any at that time, of things that are happening. Hey, this is Scott McLean. I want to wish you guys a tremendous, wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and all the lovely greetings we have for you. Proud to be in your life as we try to give you the financial information so you don't go insane. Happy holidays.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.